As an athlete, you probably heard it before. Don't have sex before a game. Some say it makes you lethargic and weaker. Others say it doesn't matter. The truth? Physically, the science is inconclusive up until now. But mentally, that's a whole different story. You see, the real problem isn't even sex. The real problem is dopamine, your brain's motivation fuel. And if you burn through it too early, too fast, too quick, then you step into the field with a half-empty tank. Is the way that it is. You don't have dessert before dinner, do you? Because it disrupts your blood sugar for the main course. It can even alter your appetite. Same thing here. If you cash out your dopamine before the game, then you won't be as hungry to conquer, to succeed, to pursue. And here's why this matters. If you can control this, you can control anything really. Your focus, your discipline, your performance in sports and in life. So let's break it down into 5 simple questions. What's the problem? What causes it? What usually doesn't work? What actually does work? And what to do if you need more help. So like I said, to start off, the problem isn't sex itself. It's when sex or any other instant gratification steals your focus and discipline. You know it's a problem when you start asking, does this affect my performance? Because if you're thinking about it, it's probably already distracting you anyway. Maybe you feel sluggish after. Maybe you get restless if you try to hold back. Either way, the habit is controlling your focus instead of you controlling it. So what and who is the culprit? The cause is dopamine mismanagement. Dopamine is your drive, your motivation, your energy to complete, to pursue, but it is not unlimited. Think of it like insulin. If you spike it all day with sugar, your system burns out. Dopamine works the same way. Every time you give in to instant gratification, you're cashing it out too early. That's why after too much sex, scrolling, gaming, or sugar, people feel tired, lethargic, even bored and depressed. Now the body isn't broken, it's that the dopamine fuel was already spent before it even mattered. Now here's the key. Sex isn't even the biggest villain. It's not as destructive as drugs, nicotine, or endless screen time, but it still pulls from the same dopamine bank account. And if you spend it too close to competition, you won't have the reserves that you need when it really truly matters. So what are the usual attempts that don't work? Well, most athletes try to fix it the wrong way. Some abruptly go cold turkey, cutting it all at once forever. That just builds up tension and distraction. Because as human beings, we tend to obsess over what we're avoiding actively, ongoingly. Others go to the opposite side of that, which is overindulging, thinking it doesn't matter anyway. Then they wonder why their focus, energy, discipline are inconsistent. Some people then overdo it after the fact, trying to pump caffeine, stimulants, grinding harder in the gym, taking less breaks, trying to sweat it out. But you can't overtrain or go all out on caffeine then expecting results. You can't escape that dopamine crash that way. And then most athletes just ignore it, pretend that it has no impact at all. So these usual fixes, extremes, denials, or quick substitute, they don't work. And if they do, they only work temporarily, creating more chaos in the long run. So what fix is actually sustainable? The real fix is discipline. And we build discipline through the SCBG, sacrificial compensational behavioral goals. In the sacrifice phase, you delay gratification. You hold back the urge, proving to yourself that you're in control, keeping your own promises. Every time you delay, you're stacking up small amounts of dopamine that wins over in your sharpened focus and concentration. Stabilize your energy and also strengthen your game. Then comes compensation after. You just don't cut it out and sit in frustration. You redirect it to a behavior that fuels performance. Breathing drills, visualization, journaling, stretching, even a light workout, low intensity exercise is useful. The urge then gets rechanneled into a momentum, which in long term is way better than motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Here's the rule. If sex happens even 8 hours before a game, you're fine. That's enough time to recover and still balance dopamine with compensation. But inside of that 8-hour window, things are a little bit more questionable. And usually this shows signs of crashing out early, and that's when it hurts your performance. So the fix isn't fear, it isn't denial, it's control. Control that dopamine, delay that gratification, redirect it using the SCBG tools that I just presented, and step into that game with all of your senses and capabilities intact. Sometimes, even with the SCBGs, athletes find themselves going back to the same cycle. That doesn't work. When that happens, it's usually not just a habit. It's a deeper emotional pattern that has gotten from a habit into a maladaptive coping skill, or maybe even a dependence. That's where regression and progression therapy come in. Regression means going back to the initial synthesizing event. That's the first moment that your mind learned how to cope cope with stress or anxiety the wrong way. Maybe you were feeling out of control in the present, which created that fear of the future. Maybe it was stress trying to do too many things all at once, trying to do it all too well. That's when impulsivity takes over. And instant gratification then becomes the escape. Regression lets you revisit that moment, release the dysregulated emotion, and restore balance. Regression is about detaching from those unbalanced emotions the right way, whether it's stress, anxiety, frustration, depression, anger, guilt, boredom, sadness, or loneliness. Instead of letting sex or any type of coping skill or dependency become the maladaptive solution, you recognize now that with the right protocols in place, like the SCBG, discipline, structure, you compartmentalize and prioritize one thing at a time, building your focus, your concentration, and your momentum. That's how you detach from the emotion without running away from it. It's feedback. Feedback that it's time to dig deeper with regression and progression so they can break away from that cycle. So, is sex a boost or a bust? Physically, the science is inconclusive, as you can see. It says it doesn't matter much, but psychologically, it all comes down to the dopamine and the discipline. If you can delay the gratification, run your SCBGs, and stay in control, you'll keep your mental edge super sharp. But if you let the urge control you, especially on that 8-hour window, you're cashing out way too early, way too fast, way too quick. The bottom line is this: it's not about avoiding sex, it's about proving that you own it. Control that dopamine, and you will control that game. Drop a comment below, boost or bust. I want to hear your take. For more sports psychology, coaching, and therapy tips and tricks, please like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you on the next video. Thank you so much for watching.